Hey guys, this is Alec from Blackhouse Vapor Company, and here is what you guys have been waiting for, at least our guys that come down to the shop here in Utah have been waiting for quite a while. It's the Phix versus the Juul.
Are you listening? Damn.
Okay, so in this video, we're gonna go through just a few different factors that would help you decide between getting a Phix or getting a Juul. The first thing that we're gonna talk about is the availability on the market, so which one you're gonna be able to find more frequently, how easily you're gonna be able to get pods from different shops, or if you're traveling around, going to different states, you know, where you're gonna be able to find these and which one you're gonna be able to find more often. The next thing that we're gonna cover is going to be the build quality. So the actual device itself, how does it hold up? Does it last a year? Does it last 6 months? Does it last a couple weeks? Beyond that, we're gonna talk about the pods themselves, how well the pods hit, how consistent the pods are, and the different flavors that the pods come in. So that's everything we're gonna cover in this video. Let's get started. All right, first things first, let's talk about the availability of these two products. Now, the Phix has been available in Utah for quite a while, but nationally, the Phix is actually a little bit more difficult to get your hands on. And it's definitely more difficult to find pods for the Phix if you're traveling abroad or you're going around the country and you're switching up vape shops all the time. The Phix is gonna be more difficult to find pods for. The device itself, generally it's in all 50 states now, but in terms of finding pods at every single shop, I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case. You'll definitely be able to find pods for the Phix, but you may have to go out of your way. So I gotta say, in terms of availability, the Juul is doing a heck of a lot better. You can find Juuls at almost every 7-Eleven across the country. You can find them in vape shops all across the country. They've done spectacular marketing, they've done really good branding, and they've found themselves in a position where they are just everywhere. So if you're looking for something that's gonna be available no matter where you are, if you're traveling or if you're just always switching vape shops, you're just even around your city at different vape shops, you might wanna look into the Juul. You're probably a lot more likely to have luck finding pods or having help from people fix a Juul or diagnose what's going wrong with the Juul. You're gonna have more help in general with the Juuls than you will with the Phixes, just because they've marketed so well and they're everywhere. All right, now let's move on to build quality. So when it comes down to build quality, this is probably the most heavily debated subject between the Phix and the Juul. You're really not gonna get these guys to ever last as long as something like a sub-ohm mod of some sort. And the reason for that is you're obviously in these devices, you're not spending $100+ on a device and you really get what you pay for. These devices are simple, they're easy to use, they're quick, but they're not going to last nearly as long as a higher end vape device. So let's get that out of the way just to begin with. But between these two devices, which one is more resilient? I would have to say it's the Juul. The Juul just seems like it's a little bit more well built, it's a little bit heavier in the hand, it feels more solid, and from my personal experience after kind of playing around with both of these for quite a few months now, dropping the Phix is fine, dropping the Juul is fine, but over time, just daily use, you're going to see the Phix starting to fall apart a lot faster than the Juul. The Phix is kind of held together with two glue points on the inside of the metal chassis, and that holds all of the internal components inside of the Phix. When you start dropping it or you start using it and juice starts seeping in there and dissolving that adhesive, you're gonna have major problems with the Phix actually just kind of completely falling apart. That can affect charging, that can affect just the ease of use of the device, and overall it's just not very pleasant to have a device like this fall apart after 6 or 8 months, or maybe even sooner. Just kind of depends on how much you use the device and how rough you are with it. The Juuls, on the other hand, they seem to be a little bit more resilient. They don't seem to fall apart nearly as easily, or I've never really seen one fall apart at all. And I think part of that has to do with the construction of it. They actually use little divots in the metal chassis of it to keep everything together as opposed to just adhesive. So everything stays more well put in this device. Now we can also talk about charging for both of these devices. They both use proprietary chargers, which in my opinion is a really big con, but not big enough to stop me from using them just because they're so convenient, but it's still really annoying that if you lose a charger, if your charger breaks, or if your device starts to break, there's really no option besides for you to go to get another device, because they're really hard to find third-party manufacturers of. So in terms of charging, both of these devices kind of lose in my book, just because they're proprietary charging, and that always brings up its own issues. They should just do a micro USB port, which you can find on other smaller devices, but generally on refillable devices. On pod systems like this, oftentimes you'll find this proprietary charging system, which is annoying. It's not the end of the world, but it definitely is something to take into consideration when you're looking at these versus other products. Okay, now we've talked about the availability of these products, we've talked about the durability of these products, and now we're gonna talk about the pods themselves. So the pods are kind of the big part of the equation here. They're the flavor, they're the nicotine, they are the lifeblood of the device. Without the pod, you're not vaping. Pods for the Juul are 0.7 milliliters, 50 milligrams per milliliter. They have PAX's proprietary salt nicotine formula, which is supposed to really have awesome effects when it comes to the bioavailability of salt nicotine. Their flavors are fairly limited, but they're still really good flavors. Overall though, I would say the Phix has slightly better pods when it comes to flavor and hit. The ceramic coils that Phix used are awesome. The flavors, they've got a really wide variety of them, and you get a 1.5 pod as opposed to a 0.7 pod. So you get double the juice basically out of the Phix than you do with the Juul. All of that being said, I do have to say, over the past month and a half, the Phix pods seem to be hitting a little bit less consistently, meaning that they're leaking a little bit more, or we're getting dead on arrival pods, which is just a terrible thing, because in a 4-pack of pods, if one of your pods dead, literally a quarter of your investment towards those pods is gone. You just can't use that pod. You can't transfer it, and you're SOL. So when it comes to the consistency with these pods being as expensive as they are and being non-refillable, you really want to make sure that these pods are super consistent, and that's where Phix seems to be going downhill a little bit, and Juul, their consistency is fantastic. The manufacturing consistency is awesome. I've never had a leaky pod with a Juul, and I've had many a leaky pod with a Phix. So that's something to keep in mind. Though the flavors and the hit off of the Phix, in my opinion, and a lot of the guys here at the shop's opinions, the Phix has that better hit, but the Juul, if you're looking for something consistent that's just never gonna break on you, you can always rely on it, and it's never gonna give you issues, then the Juul is probably your device. Okay, so overall it's gonna be a personal decision whether or not you go with the Juul or the Phix. I hope that this video gave you a few little hinters to maybe give you a push in one direction or the other, but overall it's gonna be totally a personal preference on which device works for you. Luckily, these devices aren't particularly expensive, so if you really wanted to, you could purchase both products and try them out for yourself. But overall, I'm gonna tell you to go with the Juul. I just think that it's a better device overall. It's more quality, it's more widely available, and it's more consistent. Although the flavors may not be as diverse and they might not hit quite as well, it's probably the best bang for your buck, and you're not gonna worry about it 3-4 months down the road. As you're using your Juul, you're really not gonna think about it anymore, versus the Phix, you're still gonna be more in the vaping community. You're gonna notice issues with your Phix. You're gonna try, different flavors. So maybe if you're looking to get into vaping more as a hobby, a Phix would be a good place to start, because it's gonna lead you down that road where you're thinking about more vape hobby related things. If you're looking for just an easy device to use, gotta go with the Juul. All right guys, this was my Phix and Juul comparison. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to Blackhouse for more of these types of videos, and this was Alec from Blackhouse. We'll see you next time.